Hey friends, I'm back, I think. This YouTube channel has been languishing in neglect for about the last year, and if you're wondering what happened, it wasn't something terrible. I've been fine. The family is fine. My grandmother has been dead for a few decades, and while it still makes me sad, I can't use it as an excuse. No COVID problems. My wife isn't divorcing me. The cat is annoyingly healthy. I ought to be out here vigorously complaining about bad science and promoting really cool science. So, what's been going on? It's my job. I try to explain that I'm old and slow and not fit to take on new responsibilities, but I find myself in a couple of new committees and teaching new courses, and all the prep time requirements have sucked much of the life out of me. You don't really want to hear about grading rubrics and student engagement strategies, do you? So this year I've had a shortage of free time. And also, I'm teaching another completely new course in the fall, and I've been promoted to chair of one of those committees, so the 2024-2025 school year doesn't look so great either. But it's summertime. I've got a little break with some chores I'd better do before the school year hits in late August. But I can occasionally take a breather and inflict myself on you all. So while I try to figure out all the buttons again and hook up the cables and refresh my knowledge of Final Cut Pro, here I am with an easy but aggravating topic to talk about. So I'm in Minnesota, an enlightened northern state, but we do have some amazing asshats in our legislature. You may recall Michelle Bachmann, for instance, who is thankfully out of office now. But that thick suburban ring that surrounds Minneapolis and the rural outstate MAGA part of the state where I live still spawns some truly terrible ignoramuses that get elected to high office. So allow me to introduce you to Glenn Gruenhagan. I'll ask for your forgiveness later. Gruenhagen is a pastor and an insurance agent from Glencoe, Minnesota, who got himself elected to the state senate by a healthy margin. 70% of his district voted for him. So we can't just blame him. The blame has to be shared with the electorate of District 17. He has the usual right-wing syndrome. He's a conspiracy theorist who thinks climate change is a fraud and a lie, and that thinks that wind power and solar power are dirty solutions. He wants to ban the COVID vaccine. The pandemic is another fraud and lie. He tried to outlaw same-sex marriage and instead wanted to promote conversion therapy. Of course he denies the 2020 election results. So last year, for instance, he tried to introduce a bill that would require schools to advance critical thinking skills in history and science. That's a plus. A school district must provide instruction to students in grades 9 to 12, exploring the contrasts between the scientific facts on how sickness, disease, pain, suffering, and death relate to the existence of complex living organisms, and how sickness, disease, pain, suffering, and death are a consequence imposed by the creator of complex living organisms. Yeah, that's a strange perspective, and I don't know what he intended with it. So we're supposed to contrast the idea that complex organisms can break down versus all of our suffering as a consequence of a benevolent deity intentionally inflicting pain on us? As an atheist, I approve of that message, which would turn all rational people against God. The proposed bill did not get anywhere, which I like even better, because schools shouldn't be wasting any time discussing the absurd mythology of any religion, except maybe in a history class. Today, though, I'm going to focus on just one aspect of the multifaceted idiocy that is Glenn Gruenhagan. He is a creationist. He has made YouTube and Twitter videos promoting his silly view that the earth is a construct built with intent.
In science, I find a lot of censorship, lies, and deceit.
You know, I can't deny that there are dishonest scientists who cheat. They're human after all, and science is affected by some perverse incentives that have made the problem worse. But at least science also has incentives and methods to catch and correct errors, intentional or otherwise, and can make some progress. Religion lacks such mechanisms and generally gets increasingly worse. If I had to target deceitful liars, I'd have to say that pastors and insurance agents have the problem to a greater degree.
You know, there's lots of scientific evidence that points to a creator or God. And I'll just give you two.
Okay, there is no scientific evidence for a supernatural being outside of nature and science. It's intrinsic to the problem. They're supernatural. You can't find natural evidence for supernatural events, as he would like us to think.
One is the law of cause and effect. For every effect, there's a greater cause.
There is no law of cause and effect. And further, he misstates the idea. I'm of the mind that the principle of causality is an inductively derived hypothesis generated from observations of interaction. There is no law. In particular, science will not fall apart if we observe a phenomenon that lacks a cause. We don't understand the nature of the Big Bang, for instance. If we were to learn that it had no causal agent behind it, we're not going to freak out and conclude that internal combustion engines or GPS don't work, or that Muhammad Ali never actually knocked anyone out. I'm not a physicist, but I have read about quantum fluctuations. Is the spontaneous creation of particle or antiparticle pairs in a vacuum an effect? What is the cause? Is it necessarily caused by an intelligent agent? I don't think he has evidence of any of that. There is no assumption that every effect has a greater cause. If Gruenhagen suffered the health effects of a tapeworm infection, that is, he felt the effects of a cause, and that cause was a tapeworm, does that imply that the tapeworm is greater than Gruenhagen? Okay, that's a poor example, but you get the idea. He's intentionally exaggerating the principle to reach a fallacious conclusion. There's more. He lapses into common creationist cliches.
So you have a computer. Did somebody make the computer? If you'd never seen it before, did somebody make the computer? Or did wind, rain, time, and chance blow the computer into existence? Well, the logical conclusion is someone made the computer.
Okay, here is a baby bunny rabbit. The only logical conclusion is that someone, a person, made the rabbit. I think you can see that that's not true. We've been dealing with this bogus idea since Paley in the late 18th century. It's a stupid argument that implies that the only possible causes are human-like phenomena, and that every unknown cause can be explained by analogy with human activity. So, of course, with that premise, they infer the existence of a great anthropoid in the sky doing all the creative processes. Somehow he also works complexity into his argument.
Well, your eyeball is millions of times more complex than that computer, and therefore the law of cause and effect has never been contradicted.
Okay, this doesn't work. Atmospheric circulation, the formation of hurricanes and tornadoes, are too complex for the human mind to comprehend. And even our best computer simulations are only flawed approximations. Therefore, tornadoes must have built computers. The law of cause and effect has never been contradicted. Okay, I'm joking. I don't understand how he connected those two thoughts, but this is what Gruenhagen does. And get ready, here comes the creationist litany.
You have this building, somebody built it. You have the earth, somebody made it. You have the universe, somebody created it. That is a repeatable and observable scientific fact. And yet we censor that from our students.
We don't know that somebody made a building because of the mere fact that a building exists. We know that it was built by observation, by historical records, by knowledge of the understanding of how architects and engineers and construction workers operate. We similarly understand the process that built the earth, and at no point was an intelligent being involved. In fact, the forces were so immense and so slow usually that a human-like entity could not have been involved, and therefore the analogy collapses. Further, we do teach the process behind the construction of the earth and the universe, as well as we understand them, on the basis of repeatable, observable scientific facts. Gods do not fall into that category of facts, so we leave them out of the story. That's not censorship, that's principled and reasonable. Okay, this clip ends at this point, but you may recall from the beginning that he promised us 2 scientific facts that prove the existence of God. I had to dig into his YouTube channel to find the second fact, and it really wasn't worth the effort. He has a 41-minute video full of his pomposity that I will link down below, but which I'm not going to dive into because he opines in everything, including his homophobia, transphobia, climate change denial, MAGA nonsense, and so forth. This 1-minute extract took too much of my time already. But his second argument is, life comes from life. And it's the usual citation of Pasteur's experiments demonstrating that spontaneous generation does not occur. You've all heard it 1,000 times before from creationists who are just as stupid as Gruenhagen, and it does not apply. We know that life arose on Earth about 4 billion years ago. His explanation is that a deity conjured it into existence, which also violates Pasteur's principle. So we can tell that he doesn't really care about any scientific explanation. I would just reply with my own explanatory principle. Life is chemistry. No contradictions. No notes. Okay, that's enough. Yeah, I'm just getting back into the swing of things, so don't push me, okay? I'm hoping Gruenhagen doesn't appear in the news again, but he probably will. His latest escapade is that he was investigated for an ethics violation. He sent bloody videos of gender-affirming surgery to his colleagues, who did not appreciate getting gross videos of operations in their mailbox. Yeah, he hates trans people and he wants to shut down any health care for them. It's like sending videos of cancer surgeries to demand that scalpels be banned. It's the same thing that the anti-abortionists have always done. Find the grossest medical picture you can and use that to argue against a health-saving procedure. He's a dumbass. I guess that's a plus for getting elected in his district. So, thanks again to my Patreon supporters who stuck with me through this long dry spell. I'll try to get back into the swing of things. I'm just starting again. It's like I forgot everything. Anyway, that's it for now. Talk to y'all later.